following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Perez. You're listening to the Better Live Than Dead podcast.
And with that, we welcome you to Better Live Than Dead episode number 145.
145.
This is
pretty awesome.
It's always awesome. Every time we get a podcast, it goes up one more. We're getting closer to 200. I can't even believe it, but we're getting close. Only, 55 more to go?
Yes, sir.
Surprised I could do that math in my head on the fly. This is the NFL, thank you, the NFL Week 1 cast, powered by Better Live Than Dead and the Gear Radio Network. You can hear this podcast on betterlivethandead.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube. Wherever you get a podcast, you can get this podcast. If not, let John Cimino know. Add the JC Money, and he'll make it happen. Give him something to do. Keep him busy. Right. He always enjoys it. I am Ryan Wolfe at Wolfe BLTD, joined on the IndyCar Media Hotline by the man himself, Luis Perez, at MRLG Perez on Twitter. How you doing today, man?
Yo, man, you know what? I'm actually, I think I got a sinus infection, but I'm doing pretty good. Not bad at all. I just got a message from, I'm just going to tell you a quick story. For those of you listening, you may not know this, but I am voicing a character for animated Rise based on the movie called The Last Dragon, which was released, I think, like 1985, 1986. It's a urban black martial arts film. It's one of my favorite films. Well, they decided to do an animated series on it. I got an email from the production company today that there's a huge urban cinema spotlight festival in New York City, November 9th and 10th. They're going to be screening The Last Dragon for their 30th anniversary. And I just found out that when the movie is over, they're going to screen the first episode of Rise of the Last Dragon. So
that's awesome.
That is pretty awesome. We're going to have to fast track production for it. I'm going to try, if I can, to get up to New York City on November 9th so I can see it on the big screen and see my character on the big screen. And then I have to come back almost immediately because I got a show on November 10th. But I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that, man.
Hey, man, you're always busy. You're always doing cool stuff. Like I said, at MRLG Perez on Twitter. Keep up with the latest and greatest about that. I did see that before. I was very excited about it, and I'm excited to see what comes of it, man.
Yeah, man, me too.
Now, as for me, I sound a little funny today, a little under the weather as well. Aside from just having some sinus pressure, I think the weather taking a quick dive from the 60s and 70s to the upper 40s, low 50s kind of did me in. But we're here to podcast. We do everything we can to make sure we give you guys the latest and greatest here in the podcast land. And with week 1 in the books officially, as of recording time here today, it's official, Lewis. The NFL is back, full swing of games in week 1. We've got the storylines already, are fast and furious.
Yes, we do.
We've seen some good things, some bad things, some indifferent things. We're going to talk about all of them here. Our 3 big things this week. We're going to start off first off, Lewis, big performances. And naturally, you heard it on Trust the Podcast with myself and John Cimino. The Buffalo Bills overcome a 16-point deficit, scoring 17 unanswered points to beat the Jets 17-16. The Bills' largest comeback victory since 2011. For me, obviously, all my thoughts are over on Trust the Podcast, but I was very pleased. I mean, the game was a little difficult to watch. I mean, there's no doubt about that one, but the ending, a win is a win is a win, especially in the division, especially in the conference. Games like that, you have to win if you want to try to make a playoff push.
Exactly. I mean, we still got some time to try to make a playoff push, but it was definitely the second half was much more impressive than the first. And it was a big win for the Buffalo Bills, but like I said, it's just week 1. So we'll see what happens from here on out.
Thank goodness that my wife's uncle who invited me over, he had Oktoberfest on tap. And my wife, as mentioned to John, I don't know if I mentioned it in the podcast or not, but my wife made some incredible chicken wing dip. I'll tell you what, Lewis, I like when football's back. Don't get me wrong. But for me, it always feels like a slippery slope because we're headed downhill towards those days of the sun going down at 4:30 in the afternoon, snow blowing and shoveling out my driveway and sidewalk, freezing my ass off every time I want to go outside. But the one absolute positive about, well, I would say two positives. First off, hockey's coming back. Hockey's Sabres training camp. Sabres training camp starts this week. There may be a podcast between me and Brayton Wilson, the Sabercast. I'm not sure yet, but it may happen. Anyways, hockey's back. That's dope. But the one thing I love about the winter is the food. You were right on. My wife makes incredible soup. She makes incredible chicken wing dip, chili, you name it. Any sort of comfort food, my wife absolutely nails it. And it makes me have to work out just a little harder in the wintertime because I'm over here just eating up all the comfort food I can while it's uncomfortable outside.
I might have to make a journey over and try the chicken wing dip.
Hey man, you and John both. You guys got to come over sometime. We can do a live podcast or something. Have some fun with it.
That'd be awesome.
Now, with that being said, I was going to go down the big performances and just kind of highlight some things here, but I'm going to kind of change it up on the fly here real quick. First off, Cincinnati quarterback Andy Dalton, 418 passing yards in a 21-20 loss at Seattle. Lewis, what's more surprising for Andy Dalton, the fact that he threw for 418 yards against the Seahawks' vaunted defense? I don't even know if that's the right word, but I'm going to go with it. Or the fact that he's on pace. On pace for through 1 week, he's on pace for 6,688 passing yards. Which one more surprising to you?
Honestly, it's more surprising to me that he was able to pass like that against the Seahawks defense.
I agree.
We know what they are. We know how good that defense has been historically. So to be able to put up those type of numbers is shocking, and it makes you wonder two things. One, will he be able to keep up that pace? And two, is the Seahawks defense not as good as they used to be? So it opens up a couple intriguing storylines for the rest of the season.
Sorry, I just got an email. Someone just called the BLTD Google Drive line and left this really long message, and I have no idea. They said, "Hey Larry, Rich just getting back to you." Oh boy, this has got a lot of curse words, a lot of fun stuff. We'll have to check it out after the podcast. So another big performance on Sunday. Dallas quarterback Dak Prescott, 405 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and a 35-17 win versus the New York Giants. He is on pace for 64 touchdown passes this season. I'll tell you what, Lewis, I love the on pace numbers. They're always my favorite. I always like to go over to ESPN because they do the best job of it, and you can kind of look to see where everything is projected. 64 touchdown passes. Now, Dak Prescott, a lot of people think he's playing incredible football, first off because of Kellen Moore, but second off because he's got that contract extension waiting, apparently. Jerry Jones says it's each passing day, it gets a day closer, whatever that is supposed to mean. But if Dak Prescott continues to play this good, Lewis, are we expecting to see his next contract be a little more expensive, or do you kind of think that market is already set for him?
Oh no, I think his next contract, I think it'll probably be within what the market for quarterbacks is, because I don't think, Jerry, while he does like to pay his players, he also likes to make sure he can pay other players too. And they got a bunch of weapons that are going to need contracts. But I think he's definitely going to get paid.
Oh, absolutely, especially with how the Cowboys have been locking up their future or their current stars and or future stars. I definitely think Dak Prescott will get a nice big fat contract. I don't necessarily think he's worth it, but if you have more than a mediocre quarterback in the National Football League, you got to keep him.
No, absolutely. And I don't think Dak is mediocre. I don't think he's
I think he's better than average for sure. I wouldn't put him necessarily in the top 10 yet, but he's. I would say he falls in the 10 to 15 range right now. But this season, I mean, it's only one game against a really probably going to end up being a really bad Giants team.
Right.
But if Dak Prescott can help lead the Cowboys to 10, 11, 12 wins, people may start to look at him just a little differently and kind of raise him up in those rankings because at this point. They looked really good on Sunday, and there's a lot more. I would presume there's a lot more where that came from.
Yeah, no, I mean, I believe the combination of him, Zeke, and Amari Cooper is going to be a really good combination. His tight ends looked excellent Sunday too. That team has definitely got some really nice weapons, and it's going to be fun for me as a Cowboys fan to see exactly what they do with all of them.
And it's still wild to me to see Jason Witten back on the field. That was pretty funny.
It was, and hey man, he caught a touchdown.
Hey, if I'm not mistaken, it was his 69th career touchdown.
Nice.
Very nice, very nice. Speaking of other quarterbacks, one more quarterback who had an incredible weekend. Baltimore quarterback Lamar Jackson. 324 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, and a 59-10 win at Miami. That's a team record 59 points for the Baltimore Ravens. And what did Lamar Jackson say after the game, Lewis? Not bad for a running back. I love it. I love the smart assness and the fact that Lamar Jackson, he may not come out every week and have 324 passing yards and 5 touchdowns, but it looks like they've got a good thing going there in Baltimore so far through one game, and looks like Hollywood Brown too. It might be real good for Lamar Jackson as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. They definitely look good. I'm gonna, if anyone who listened to the NFL kickoff show, I'm gonna adjust who I think is gonna win the Super Bowl. I'm gonna say Miami is gonna win the Super Bowl now.
They are bad. Not only are they bad, but apparently a handful of players have already asked for trades following the first loss.
That's what I've heard.
It's going to be so bad there in Miami this year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting. I could see them going 0-16.
Yeah, I was going to say, can they be the first team in NFL history to go 16-0 and 0-16?
Right. That'd be dynamite.
That'd be incredible. I'd love it so much.
Oh yeah, what was that other stat? You're the QB there.
Lamar Jackson. Oh, Ryan Fitzpatrick became the first NFL quarterback in history to throw an interception and then a touchdown for 8 different franchises.
That's fantastic.
He's made quite the career out of his 7th round, 250th overall pick way back when, I think 2005.
Right.
I think he's made over $50 million. He's got a Harvard education. He's played for so many different football teams. I mean, he's done it all in the National Football League, and he's not done yet.
No, he's definitely made a good career out of being super mediocre as a quarterback.
Doing a good enough job. Exactly. And it's always whenever he comes to town, you're in trouble. And then when he starts, he's in trouble.
Yes.
Looking over now at the skill positions real quick, we've got 2 players we wanted to highlight real fast. First off, Indianapolis Colts running back Marlon Mack. Not all is lost in Indianapolis, despite the fact that Andrew Luck retired. Marlon Mack had 174 rushing yards and 1 touchdown in a 30-24 overtime loss at the Los Angeles Chargers on Sunday. Also, Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Sammy Watkins, who's expected to take a bigger role on even now after Tyreek Hill has been lost for a handful of weeks due to a shoulder or sternum injury, whatever it may be. Sammy Watkins on Sunday, 198 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns and a 40-26 win versus Jacksonville. Now, Lewis, get this. Sammy Watkins, if he were to stay on the current pace, he's on pace for 144 receptions, 3,168 yards, and 48 touchdowns. That would be by far one of the best fantasy seasons. I think the best fantasy season ever. That'd be incredible and hilarious and fantastic. I don't know.
That would be. All of the above.
The numbers are so obtuse that I had to put them in.
I understand. That's a lot of if that happens, that would be incredible. Yeah,
it would be. Absolutely. Now, moving over to the bigger disappointments of the weekend, we've got 3 things to talk about, and we'll actually start from we'll kind of shake it up here a little bit. First off, Thursday Night Football, Chicago quarterback Mitchell Trubisky Lewis, the Bears defense played like they are still one of the best in the league, while Trubisky only completed 57.8% of his passes for 228 yards and interception, I should say. Is Trubisky holding Chicago back from taking the next step? Now, I know he's not the only reason that they lost on Thursday night, but we continue to see this lack of progression from Mitchell Trubisky. At what point in time does Chicago say, hey, we're wasting the best time that we have available right now with this damn good football team because we have a quarterback who's average?
Well, I can see, if it gets to be 3-4 weeks into the season and he's still not living up to his hype, I can see them trying to look to make a change. Their defense is excellent, and they do have some nice weapons outside of Trubisky. So I can see, 3-4 weeks into the season, if they're not making any noise, I would be looking to make a little bit of changes there.
Well, looking at their depth chart right now, because I don't even know who the backup quarterback is. Last I knew it was Mark Sanchez, I think, but that was forever ago. Oh, yeah, they'll probably stick with Mitchell Trubisky because their backup quarterback is Chase Daniel of the New Orleans Saints fame, I believe.
Yeah. So they don't really have any great options there. So
Money Mitchell probably still be the quarterback for the Bears. But if I think if this season, if he continues to struggle and to be mediocre, and the Bears can't fulfill their potential because of his lackluster play, I think maybe they start to, I wouldn't say pull the trigger, but definitely kick the tires, because it's one of those things where he's in his third season. You're expecting him to take that jump, and you're expecting him to be ready to move to that next level. Even if he's not going to be a good or a great quarterback, at least be a good quarterback, kind of like what they have with like what we talk about Dak Prescott, where, you think to yourself, okay, he's not the best in the league by any stretch of the imagination, but at some point in time, you have to say, okay, look, we need you to be better. We're gonna set the table up for you. We need you to kind of handle it from here and do exactly what you can to be better, man. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties here. My headphones came unplugged and I can't hear anything. Okay. Apparently plugging headphones back in is the most difficult thing I've done all day.
Awesome.
There we go. All right, I'm back. Okay.
All right, excellent.
Also, next, speaking of quarterbacks, Jacksonville quarterback Nick Foles signs a big old deal to go to Jacksonville this offseason. First, I think first couple quarters, I don't know if it was the first or second quarter, but either way, throws a beautiful dime for a touchdown pass and gets completely clobbered. I believe he was sandwiched. Broken clavicle, placed on the IR, underwent surgery to fix it, out until at least week 11. That Gardner Minshew, I believe, is the quarterback's name, who's starting now for Jacksonville. That will probably put a big damper in their hopes for a potential playoff run, despite the fact that it's only week 1. Lot can change, but Nick Foles, Big Dick Nick, as John likes to point out on the podcast, he's out for a large chunk of the season, and I guess we'll see what happens from there, but definitely not good news for Jacksonville in week 1.
No, not at all. And I thought Jacksonville was one of those teams that could make some noise this year. I thought for sure that they might be able to reach the playoffs. This type of injury, definitely puts a damper on that. So, we'll have to wait and see.
I believe the only positive about this is that it wasn't his throwing shoulder. It was a non-throwing shoulder. So I guess he probably should be able to come back and be fine. But still, that's rough. That's real rough. And speaking now, Lewis, of the biggest disappointment, in my humble sports opinion, the biggest disappointment of the weekend, the Cleveland Browns, man. Their road to the Super Bowl will clearly have some bumps in it. A 43-13 loss in their home opener versus the Tennessee Titans, man. Highlighted by 3 picks for Baker Mayfield. Also, Odell Beckham Jr. was spotted wearing a $190,000 watch while playing on the field.
While playing.
That's wild. It definitely looks like it definitely looks like the Browns may have some growing pains in their offensive line. Even Baker Mayfield may have a few growing pains. I'm sure they'll get it back together. But definitely the expectations, it's only 1 week, but it definitely looked like the expectations got the best of the Browns in week 1.
You know what? Listen. Yes. I believe the expectations might be hard to live up to at this particular moment in time. I honestly think we all thought that they were going to look better. They pretty much did not. They looked kind of like garbage. But, why would you let your guy go out, run patterns while wearing a watch? I am not wearing if I'm playing football, I'm not wearing a watch, especially if said watch cost me $190K.
It is pretty wild. Yeah, it is pretty wild.
Granted, $190K to Odell is probably not that bad.
Yeah, I agree.
But why? That's my question. Why? I love my watches.
Oh, I know you do. That's why I had to mention this.
Right. I have a nice watch collection. You know what I'm not going to do? That. I might send them an email and say, hey, listen, dude, if that's how you're going to treat your watches, just send them to me. I promise to give them a good home.
I agree.
Where they won't be getting scratched up or driven into the ground.
Fun stat for you before we move over to the rest of the stories in the National Football League this week. Lewis, do you remember the last time Cleveland won a game in Week 1?
No.
September 12th, 2004 versus the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, it's been a couple years.
That's a long time. That was 15 years ago in
right.
What? It's Tuesday, so 15 years ago Thursday. Yeah,
maybe.
So so there's that. Exactly. Looking around the NFL real quick.
You know what? Real quick, I guarantee you, if something happens to that watch, football injuries not covered underneath that warranty.
Yeah, I would have to say I'm going to presume that football injuries. It's it's probably not going to be covered. But on to our third and final of the three big things here, Lewis. Looking around the NFL, two topics to talk about real quick. First off, the New England Patriots, following their very convincing 33-3 victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers. The New England Patriots officially added wide receiver Antonio Brown on Monday afternoon. Is it safe to say that New England is even more the favorite in the AFC now than they were even before this weekend?
Listen, man, we talked about it on the emergency cast. We had an inkling he was going to go there. That obviously it happened. I know I picked Kansas City, Minnesota. But honestly, at this point, you might as well just give New England the 7th Super Bowl ring, bro. That's how I feel about it.
I mean, at this point, honestly, it's I don't think it's they'll probably struggle here and there, but they have so many weapons. They've got Josh Gordon, they've got Julian Edelman, they've got Philip Dorsett, they've got Antonio Brown, they've got Cameron Meredith coming back. They've got, who else do they have?
They got an embarrassment of riches.
They do. That's fair.
It is just going to be. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to beat them. I mean, I can't even talk junk. You have to respect what this organization has done as a football team.
Especially because Rob Gronkowski continues to threaten that he's going to return to the New England Patriots.
And, I hope he does it. He's been so beat up in his career. But if he does, that's just another threat you can add to the list of threats. I mean, it's just, you might as well just print up the Super Bowl rings now and put the Patriots on it.
Oh, yeah, don't forget N'Keal Harry's coming back, too.
Oh, God. Yeah.
They're going to be just fine in New England.
Yeah. But here's the thing. They're so good that you could probably remove Tom Brady from the equation and put in a good quarterback. doesn't necessarily even have to be a great quarterback, but you can probably put in a good quarterback and they'll still win.
I mean, we saw that with Matt Castle way back in the day. It's one of those things where, too, you have to, with Tom Brady being 42 and being the first quarterback to throw for over 300 yards in a football game at age 42, pretty much everything Tom Brady does now is going to be an NFL record because he's so freaking old. But, I mean, there were a few bad passes in that game where he looked like he may have lost it, and then all of a sudden he's out there throwing dimes. And I certainly think that they're doing – yeah, they're doing a great job surrounding Tom Brady with very fast wide receivers that he can just throw a quick slant or an out route or whatever it may be, and they can just do the rest of the work because, you're not making him throw the ball in the air 50 yards or whatever. You're just, dink and dunk and let them do the work.
He's older now. He had to loosen up.
I agree with that one. That's actually pretty funny. Last but not least, Lewis, the Houston Texans. Monday Night Football versus the New Orleans Saints. That could reconfirm to us that quarterback Deshaun Watson is the real deal. But, Lewis, what I'm looking at here, can the Texans be good enough around him to not get him killed? Because it seemed like every time Deshaun Watson took a drop back, he was getting hit. Throwing a ball, getting hit. Scrambling out of the pocket, getting hit. And it seems like they cannot protect him for anything. And he keeps getting banged up. And he keeps getting injured, and keeping Deshaun Watson healthy is the key to the Texans making a run, in my opinion.
Well, I absolutely agree with you there. Deshaun Watson is phenomenal, but he was getting hit quite a bit. And let's be honest. The Houston Texans, they kind of have a history of not protecting their quarterback. I mean, who was it? David Carr that played for them?
Yeah.
He was a great quarterback. He was, in my opinion, he was better than Derek, and he just got murdered. So they kind of have a history of not protecting their quarterback. So we'll see what happens.
I just saw that a girl that grew up in the park where I lived stole $75 worth of Reese's peanut butter cups. How do you do that?
$75 worth of Reese's peanut butter cups?
Yeah.
Is there a black market for Reese's peanut butter cups that I don't know about?
Maybe.
Or does she just really want some Reese's peanut butter cups?
Quite possibly. Absolutely. I think that might be the case. But I think no time like the present.
That's a lot of Reese's peanut butter cups.
Yeah, no time like the present, right? Just to do some wild hood rat stuff with your friends. But looking ahead, Lewis, there are 4 matchups I personally am looking forward to. And then we'll wrap the podcast up here because I'm kind of feeling a little crappy. So I just want to handle this real quick. Looking at week 2, top matchups. You have Minnesota at Green Bay, Seattle at Pittsburgh, New Orleans at the Los Angeles Rams, which is a rematch of last year's NFC title game, and Philadelphia at Atlanta on Sunday Night Football. A good week of football ahead, and hopefully we'll be back after week 2 to wrap it all up for you again like we did here today.
There's definitely some good football coming up. I'm looking forward to it.
And with that being said, my nose is dripping, so I'm gonna wrap this up here because I feel kind of disgusting.
All right, real quick, I'm gonna throw a stat out there real quick. Then
you got it, man.
So if you sold $75 worth of Reese's peanut butter cups, if you break it down, if those packages go for $1.50 a piece, that's 50 packages of Reese's peanut butter cups. That's 100 Reese's peanut butter cups.
That's a lot of Reese's peanut butter cups.
That's a lot of Reese's peanut butter cups. That's a lot of Reese's peanut butter cups.
We give the listeners something to think about as we depart on the podcast this week.
That's right. Let's wrap it up, man. Go get yourself a Kleenex or something.
But Lewis is, I appreciate you, man. He is at MRLG Perez. I am at Wolfe BLTD. As always, we are better alive than dead.
You're not.
We will catch you sometime very soon.
Peace.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Do you like sports, interactive polls, friendly banter from 2 guys that probably shouldn't even be on the microphone doing this stuff anyways? Oh, if you do, then you're in luck. Us two knuckleheads, Brandon and myself, comprise the Listen In Podcast. That's right, Listen In, the podcast. We're talking sports, we're talking news, we're talking topical things, we're talking all sorts of things, my babies, and you are all invited to listen in right here on the Gear Radio Network.